Boro have found their way back into the playoff race and now head away from home on Friday night to a team in crisis. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and another episode of the Project Boro preview show where we look ahead to every single Boro game, preview the game, predict the result, look at the lineups of both sides and discuss the opposition. And this Friday, Boro head down to Lancashire to Blackburn Rovers, Ewood Park on Friday night in an attempt to get the early jump on our playoff rivals. And unbelievably, Boro could go fifth with a win on Friday night. Words I never thought I would be saying again this season following Boro's absolutely abysmal run of form so far this calendar year, but we've managed to pull ourselves together in some sort of a degree. I still feel like Boro's performances have got to pick up slightly with tougher games coming, but I've always said at the same time, results are arguably more important this season at this point, and Boro are finding a way to get results more often than not. The caveat, of course, more of them results have come at the Riverside. I still feel like Boro's away performances have left a lot to be desired, especially in the last two. We can't disregard how lucky we were to come out of Luton with a point. We weren't great against Swansea in the trip previous to that. So as much as Boro's form is good, we are somehow second in the form table in the Championship, which I just cannot believe. I still think Boro need to up their game between now and the end of the season to definitely be sure that we are still playoff contenders, and we absolutely have to improve on the performance levels at the likes of Luton and the likes of Swansea. Of course, at the Riverside, we've picked up some good results. We were good in the second half against Oxford. We did enough against QPR, enough against Derby. But I would still like to see this Boro team step up another gear or two and really kick on now, because we find ourselves back in with a chance, but we need to take advantage of it, and we need to try and maintain this level of form, but up against tougher sides. And as much as Blackburn are a club in crisis right now, I still think they are going to be a tougher side than the ones we have played thus far. Now, Blackburn, we can look at their numbers, we can look at their league position, we can look at it all. Bottom line is, their season is falling apart right before their very eyes. The playoff places are slipping away from them. I dare say they are on the brink of being out of it now. I mean, they're behind Norwich on goal difference, down to 11th, 5 points off of 6th. I think if they fall any further away from that, they are massively out of the Championship playoff running, and Boro could put the final nail in Blackburn's coffin on Friday night if we were to beat them, because that's another team between Blackburn and the playoffs who could gain a massive 3 points on them, and then there'll only be 6 games to go. So this probably is do or die for Blackburn's season, to be honest, and in a similar manner to what always happens at Blackburn. They have a good start, they have promising hope throughout the season, but always find a way to sort of fall away towards the end of the season when it gets to the crunch and something goes wrong. And right now things have gone massively wrong there. Of course, they've got a new manager, Valerian Ishmael, who's come in for John Eustace departing. That's obviously something that was very harsh on Blackburn and something they couldn't help with Eustace moving on. But apparently there were more reasons to why he moved on than just the Derby job, rumours of recruitment and finances and loads of stuff in the background of the club. I'm not going to pretend to know the ins and outs of Blackburn Rovers, so if there's any Blackburn fans watching, please do enlighten me on the details of what's happening at your club right now. But it doesn't sound great. Valerian Ishmael has come in, lost 4 of his first 5 games. There's going to be protests on Friday night. High members of the club, the head of football, Rudy Gestead, who isn't exactly popular with Boro fans either after his time here as a player, him and others high at the club have been told to stay away from the ground. It is not a happy camp right now, and that's pretty much backed up by Blackburn's league position and their current form. So they've slipped down to 11th in the Championship, 15 wins, 7 draws, 17 defeats, the most of any side in the top half. 42 goals scored, 41 conceded, so they're pretty much levelling out at the minute as a mid-table team, you could say. But the big worry for them is their recent form. I think they're arguably in the worst form of any team in the league right now. They've lost each of their last 4. The biggest worry has got to be the 4 teams they've actually lost to, because when I saw 4 defeats in a row, I kind of thought, okay, they might have lost to some top teams in the Championship, but they've actually lost to teams who are fighting for their lives down the bottom. They lost 2-1 away to Derby. Yes, they're having a bit of a resurgence, but with John Eustace moving on, that one would have definitely stung. They lost 1-0 away to Stoke, which is definitely a disappointing result given Stoke's league position. They lost 2-1 at home to Cardiff, who are a team just outside the bottom 3, fighting for their lives and not in great form themselves. That's another massively disappointing result. And then they lost away at Pompey, which I guess isn't the worst thing. There's no crime losing away to Pompey with the current form they're in at the moment. But yeah, they've lost 4 games in a row to teams who sit 22nd, 18th, 21st and 17th. So it's not a great place, not in good form. The new manager has not hit the ground running at all, and they need to find a win. They need to find a win quickly to keep their season alive, because it is on the brink of being over right now. If there was to be a positive for Blackburn, it probably won't see through for them at this moment in time, but they do pick up the majority of their points at Ewood Park. I do recall when looking at them previously in the season, and it doesn't feel like too long ago, Blackburn were in the top 6 for home form. They were right up there in terms of the home sides in this league. That's not the case anymore. I don't know how many of their last couple of home games they've failed to win in. They were once a top 6, top 7, top 8 home side. They've now slipped down into mid-table, and they've won just under half of their games, but still 33 points. Around 63% of their points have come at Ewood Park, so I still do feel like they're a better home side than they are an away side. So if they're going to pick up points anywhere, it's likely going to be at home, and Boro need to be wary of that, because Ewood Park hasn't been the happiest hunting ground for us over the years. From their 19 home games, they've picked up 10 wins, 3 draws and 6 defeats, so they are still a decent home team, albeit, as I say, right now they're not in very good form at all. Taking a look in their numbers a little bit more closely to sort of get an idea of what sort of team they are. In terms of attacking wise, they're not as good as I thought they were. They sit 15th for goals scored in the Championship. Again, that might be a metric that was once looking better, that's dropped off massively in terms of recent form. So maybe they're not scoring many goals right now at all, but they're also in the bottom half for goals scored, which does not bode well for a side who want to achieve the playoffs. They've got to be scoring more than that, so they're 15th for goals scored. They are underperforming slightly. However, they're a bit higher for XG, but still nothing all that special. They're still in the bottom half for XG, 45.7 expected goals. They've scored 42, so a slight underperformance. They're not massively, so I think that backs up that it's not like Blackburn create an absolute abundance of chances and just can't finish them. They're not amongst the greatest chance creators in the Championship either, so maybe another positive for Boro there. Backed up again by some other numbers surrounding their, their more other offensive numbers, their more general offensive numbers. So in terms of shots on target, they're all the way down in 17th. They're 9th for big chances, so just inside the top half, but 7th for big chances missed. So they still do miss a degree of big opportunities in games. So yeah, not an attacking side Boro should be too wary of, but I said that against Oxford in my preview, and Oxford were a very formidable threat up against Boro, as were Luton, so maybe Blackburn will lean on being more direct and lumping balls, throwing corners into Boro's box. And when they've got the likes of Gay up front, who is a huge centre-forward, maybe Blackburn will opt to be a more direct side, and they will hurt Boro in a similar way to which Oxford and Luton did. And I'll have a look at their lineup in a short while. In terms of their defensive numbers, Blackburn, it's not too bad. It's not as bad as what their offensive numbers are. So they are, I'd say, a slightly better defensive side than they are offensive. They're actually 7th. They've got the 7th best defence in the Championship, which is pretty good, to be honest with you. They're just outside the top 6. Only Burnley, Leeds, Sheffield United, West Brom, Sunderland, Millwall have a better defence than Blackburn Rovers do. So, again, maybe this is something that has decreased over time, but they are in and around the top 6 side for their defence, so maybe just letting themselves down going forward. However, they are overperforming slightly in terms of their defensive numbers. Their XG conceded is quite similar to their XG going forward, mid-table. You know, their XG against has them 12th, so they are smack bang in the middle of the league for the number of chances they give up. They have just conceded quite a bit less than what they should have. They're overperforming defensively by around 6 goals at the moment, so they should have maybe conceded more. That's probably backed up by how good their goalkeeper's been, Ainsley Pears, who we of course will remember as a player who come through at Boro, because Blackburn have the 6th most clean sheets in the Championship, or the joint 5th, sorry, should I say, with Preston at 13 clean sheets. So maybe they are a side who should concede a lot more than what they do, but they've been bailed out by their goalkeeper on a number of occasions. But they are a solid defensive team, I would say. Not a very good one going forward. As for their team, this is what they've been playing in recent weeks, a 4-2-3-1. As I mentioned, Ainsley Pears has been an impressive player for them this season. A very good player at the back, defensively, in goal. He's, as I say, got plenty of clean sheets and has made some huge saves at times this season to keep them in games and to win them points. In terms of a back four, it's a pretty solid back four, I would say. Midfield two, we'll recognise Adam Forshaw in there from his Boro days. Travis is always a player that I've rated as a midfielder in the Championship. Lewis Travis, I think he's been great. And he was great in one of their recent trips to Boro. I can't remember if it was in League or Cup. Of course, Blackburn have come to Riverside and won twice this season, both by 1-0. I remember Travis being very, very good in one of them games, so we know what he can do as a midfielder in this league. In terms of their front three, Cantwell was another player who did well last time he played Boro. Dolan's always a tricky customer as well, who might give Boro some issues on their left-hand side. But the big threat, I would say, that stands out to me is Maktar Gueye, because not only is he a huge centre-forward and one that I'm sure will give Boro huge issues at the back, he's also their fittest top goal scorer. He's joint top with 6 goals along with Yuki Ohashi. It seems like maybe they'll alternate between the two of them, but I wouldn't be surprised if up against Boro, Blackburn opt to go with the far more physical of the two. I'd be very surprised if they chose Ohashi over Gueye, because of course Boro are lacking height and physicality in our defence right now, and as I alluded to earlier in the video, Luton and Oxford, even though they're not the best creative sides in the league, created an absolute bucket load against Boro, and I think a lot of that is down to our defence and how long balls in the box can create chaos, corners, throw-ins, crosses, and if you're putting Gueye on Howson or Borges, he's probably going to win most aerial duels. So that would be something I would do if I was Blackburn. I would definitely target Boro there. It makes perfect sense to start him. And as I say, he is their joint highest goal scorer who's fit. Andres Feynman, who does have the most goals with 7, is currently injured. And he's also a massive goal contributor as well, is Gueye. He's got by far the most goal contributions of anyone in Blackburn's team. He's got 12, 3 more than the next best. He's got 6 goals and 6 assists. So not only is he a goal threat, or a decent goal threat, I wouldn't say 6 goals is a massive tally at this stage, but he also has 6 assists. So he's probably a good hold-up player. He can bring others into play, and they can score goals playing off of him. So Boro have got to be incredibly careful of Maktar Gueye, and we can't let him basically throw our defenders around, manage the game, boss that area of the pitch, whether it's holding the ball up, nodding it down, playing it into others, or winning headers from crosses himself. We've got to try and nullify him as best we can, assuming he starts, which I'd be surprised if he didn't. And that's backed up by another stat I saw earlier when it comes to Blackburn, because they have the joint most accurate long passes per game. So they're another direct side. It feels like Boro are just playing direct side after direct side right now, and it's probably the worst time for Boro to play sides such as that. We've got away with it so far. Here's hoping we can get away with it again. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Blackburn opted to continue playing in that way, lumping up to Gueye, playing off him and trying to get joy there. So Boro's defence has got to be incredibly careful and wary of that. And talking of Boro's defence and the 11 I would go for, I did at first opt to just stick with what worked, barring 1 or 2 changes from the Oxford game. Although I am starting now looking at Gueye. As I said in a video I did yesterday, when I discuss Borough's back four in more detail, I probably would bring Rav Vandenberg into this game. It's nothing against the, Howson or Borges and how they've performed. It's more tailored to combating the opposition. And I do worry that we will concede more big chances against Blackburn if Gay's up against Borges and Howson. We've gotten lucky against Luton. We've gotten lucky against Oxford. And they didn't punish us. They should have. Blackburn might punish us, and we might not get away with it for a third time. So I would just shore things up and be a little bit more careful. And I probably would bring in Rav Vandenberg if he's fit enough to play in this game. He is one of our best defenders. He will go on to play at a high level. It doesn't make sense to keep him out of the team for too much longer if we can't help it. And as I alluded to in that back four video I did, it makes more sense to bring him in for Johnny Howson. Maybe harsh, but for me, at his age now, Johnny Howson is a very good squad player who I think is perfect to be a sort of utility man who isn't in Borough's strongest 11, shouldn't be for me, but is always available to slot in to the positions where we need him most. He's that perfect squad versatile player who I think can slot in when needed. Do we need him now against Blackburn? Not if we've got Rav Vandenberg for me. So I'd keep the left side as is. There's no reason to change Borges and Illing Jr., but I'd bring Rav Vandenberg in for Johnny Howson at right centre half. I think the rest picks itself, barring I have brought Morgan Whittaker in for Bergzorg. I wouldn't change any of the other front four, and I wouldn't drop Iheanacho either. I think you've got to give him another game now. He's just come off the back of a goal. Wouldn't send a good message to him if he's finally got his first Boro goal and he looked better after his goal to then just drop him. I think you've got to say, right, you've got your first goal, build on it, go again, and see if you can get another. And if Iheanacho can suddenly start stringing a few goals together, suddenly you've got a second striker scoring goals. So I think for the benefit of him, you keep him in. Hope he can score again here. The only change I would make is Morgan Whittaker in for Bergzorg, because I just don't like Bergzorg on the right. It just doesn't suit him. He always wants to cut inside, and that's better coming off the left for me. So Whittaker, come on, looked good against Oxford, was really bright. I think deserves another chance in the starting 11 on that right-hand side. So I'd bring him in for Bergzorg. That's the only other change I would make going into this game as well as probably Rav Vandenberg for Johnny Howson. And as for the head-to-head, well, it's not the prettiest of reading. Blackburn have been a bit of a bogey team against Boro over the years. We've only beat them once in our last 12 in League and Cup, with Blackburn winning 7 of them games. They actually have done really well at the Riverside of late, winning most of their trips to the Riverside in the last couple of seasons. Boro did win at Ewood Park recently-ish. We won there in December of 2022 and again in 2019, but wins there come quite sparsely, I would say, once every few years. They definitely have the edge over Boro when it comes to head-to-head. They've got 9 wins to Boro's 4 in the 22 meetings that we've had since 2012. So Blackburn certainly have the edge over Boro. Here's hoping that will not be the case again this Friday. And finishing with my prediction, I'm going to back Boro to win again. Now, I remember when me and Chris did our podcast and we looked ahead at the 8 games and I did put Boro to draw. I still feel like that's a very likely result, but I didn't quite realise how much of a crisis team Blackburn are. Now, it would be very typical Boro that we go to a crisis team and lose, because I've seen us do that countless times in the past. And I know Ewood Park, Friday night, I can just see Blackburn pulling a result together and finding a way. But their form of late has been terrible. Things have not got going under Ishmael yet, and I don't want to use the cliche, but it could be a good time for Boro to play them, quite honestly. So a big opportunity for Boro, a huge one, and it could be another one that we let slip. We've done it many times this season, but I'm really hoping this time we don't. As I say, somehow Boro could find themselves 5th on Friday night, which is crazy. And over the weekend, Coventry have got Burnley at home, albeit, but they've got Burnley, and West Brom have got Sunderland. So the teams around us have got tough games, and the 2 teams below us, being Bristol City and Watford, play each other. So there couldn't be a more golden opportunity for Boro to gain points on the 2 teams above us and the 2 teams below us. It's huge. it could be a massive, massive win, because if Boro can't capitalise on this Blackburn game and the other sides around us jump on us and gain points on us again, we've suddenly got a home game against Leeds next week, which then looks like a must-win game, because we could be then facing a 3, 4, 5 points deficit with what would then only be 5 games to go, and it then looks a lot more difficult. So we are now into the territory where cup finals, another cliche, but every game feels like a must-win at this point for Boro, and what an opportunity this is on Friday night against Blackburn, a team who are in a mess with all of Boro's rivals playing each other or teams above them. Boro, please do not let us down. And talking of letting us down, I'm going to be there in the away end. And before you all berate me for going and saying my away records, this, that and the other, let me remind you all, I was there on New Year's Day when we beat Hull away, and that was our only away win up until Stoke, and that was the only away game I'd gone to. So maybe the curse has flipped. Maybe Boro only win away when I'm actually in attendance. So I'm going to be there on Friday night at Ewood Park to hopefully see Boro pick up another win. I'll be match day vlogging it as well. As long as I've got good seats, I will be vlogging the game. That will be coming up over the weekend on the YouTube channel, as will my review of the game with our usual Project Boro review, which will quickly be followed by another preview as we look ahead to playing Leeds United, who themselves are having a bit of a wobble right now. So a big week coming up for the Boro. But until then, if you've enjoyed the video, do hit a like on the video, subscribe for much more. As I say, we preview and review every Boro game here on the channel, and leave me a comment below with your thoughts, feelings and predictions, whether you're a Boro fan, Blackburn fan or otherwise. If you want to listen to this on the go, there is a Linktree link in the description which can take you off to not only the podcast providers, but the Linktree now also gives you links off to my TikTok, where I make more short form Boro content, and my X account, where I post a lot about Boro throughout the week. So if you want to follow me on any of them platforms, please do so as well. But until next time, guys, do take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.